Howdy, folks. It's Winter Wallace from NeedCoffee.com here, back again for another, wait a second, I'm behind the wheel of a car, Wayhomer review. That's right. I figured out a way, because some of you might be saying, I thought he said he wasn't going to go back into a dark room and breathe strange people's air for 2.5 hours until the apocalypse was over. I have not been doing that. I have come to the drive-in theater because I had to do something to see the film that we're going to talk about today before everything got spoiled. And only one thing got spoiled before I got to see it. That's right. Today we're here to talk about Spider-Man No Way Home. And normally I would get into the car at the beginning of this, but I'm already in the car because we haven't left the car. We've been sitting here the whole time watching the movie. So, yes, normally I would watch the film and I would walk out to my car and I would get into my car and then I would talk to you about it on my way home. But we're already in the car, so we just kind of skip that. It's I guess slightly more efficient. I don't know. We'll find out. Anyway, so synopsis. That's normally what we do. Yes, synopsis. So, based on the events in Far From Home, which was the previous Spider-Man film, everyone knows that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, which, as you can imagine, is problematic. Because, as was revealed at the end of the last film, not only does that mean that everyone knows his secret identity, and that's going to cause multiple problems, but it also was enough to summon J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson, who is, formidable in any role. And I don't know about you, but if I'd gotten ambushed at the end of a movie by J.K. Simmons in an antagonistic role, that would be hardcore. So that's where basically we pick up with No Way Home. He has realized the downside to having no secret identity, which really there's very little upside to it. And because this Peter Parker is not the dumb Peter Parker that we saw in the last film, we'll get to that in a second, or B, the dumb Peter Parker in the comics who, instead of going to somebody who could help him out like Doctor Strange, would go to, say, Satan. But I'm not bitter. So he decides to go to Doctor Strange, and since, they're all such comrades in arms after saving the universe and everything, and seeing if Strange can help him by erasing his secret identity from the minds of, basically everybody. And, as you can imagine, hijinks ensue. And, to be clear, because this was in the trailer, and therefore it is not spoilery, the hijinks are in the form of basically all the previous Spider-Man villains from various and sundry films, which is, a heck of a lot to take in, not to mention J.K. Simmons, who is, in some ways the scariest of the bunch. Anyway, so that's your synopsis. So now, okay. First, let me set the stage for this, as I like to do. That we came off of Far From Home, or as I like to call it, the Cars 2 of the MCU, and which basically made a mockery of Tony Stark and Tony Stark's intelligence and common sense, not to mention Peter Parker's intelligence and common sense. And it was kind of hard to feel bad for Peter Parker, considering that, he seemed to forget that he's living in a world in which there's cameras everywhere, and he kept seeming to want to take his mask off every time that he had an opportunity. So, you can't feel too bad about him, the inevitable happening. But anyway, so we've moved away from the problem of, which I've talked about multiple times before, when you have a plot or an event that needs to happen, but in order for it to happen, characters will have to do things that are very uncharacter-like, and you'll have to shoehorn it in for it to work. And that's basically the entirety of Far From Home. So what we have is, in No Way Home, which, due to the multiverse arriving, I was fine if we were just going to forget that the last film happened. But we have basically Tom Holland, an exceptional Peter Parker and Spider-Man, having to deal with the consequences of not only his decisions about his secret identity, but also the consequences from his decisions from the previous film, which, it's always bad when in a sequel you're having to contend with your bad decisions in a previous film. And I know some of you will say that they were coming off of Endgame, and yes, they didn't quite know what was going on with Endgame, so they had to kind of punt in certain situations, but yeah, the problems that I had didn't have anything to do with it. Anyway, but to the film at hand. Okay, first of all, they, let's put it like this. I think this is the most concise way of putting it. They understood the assignment, okay? As sort of wrapping up, so to speak, a whole lot of Spider-Man stuff, including this trilogy, which, almost didn't happen because it took the cooperation of Sony and Marvel and Disney and the stars to align, and somebody sacrificed a goat. I think it was Tom Holland. So the very fact that this has happened is pretty miraculous. But it is suitably epic, is I think what I can leave you with, as far as like a too long didn't watch type of thing. And pretty much everyone in it plays their characters perfectly, and their characters act like their characters, which is, a great relief to me. But it's, and as I said, the villains come back. We've already seen Alfred Molina in the first trailer. My understanding is, the other villains have been revealed in other trailers and stuff that's come out from Marvel. But they did a very good job of taking, you know what it is? I'll tell you what it is. It's like an Endgame. Endgame had things that paid off that you never expected to need a payoff. Probably weren't even created with a payoff in mind, but they paid off stuff anyway. It's like, they not only they paid way more than the minimum payment on those things with Endgame. I think the same thing happens here, in that there's certain things that they pick up from these characters that are obviously from, another reality. And they've been dropped into another mega franchise, which they comment on very smartly, very cleverly throughout the whole thing, when you're dealing with other characters. But they stay true to what they were when we last saw them, all various number of however many years it's been for the particular characters. So that's very well done. It's a huge kind of juggling act that they have to do to bring all of this together and make it make sense and make it feel organic. And I think they succeed for the most part. I think there are some questionable character decisions, as in, I don't know that was a good idea, but they're at least authentic to the characters that are making those decisions, if that makes sense. Just like there's certain decisions that have been made throughout the MCU, but because the Marvel characters are flawed, and because they are human and grounded in reality, I think we've all been there, where we just go, oh, that was a bad decision that I've just made, and this is going to sting. I think we've all been there. Granted, very few of us have experienced that, where the sting could be the complete unraveling of your universe, but, you know, maybe in a metaphorical sense, I don't know. But I think the major thing is I'm very impressed with how they, again, tied it all together and made it work. It's one of those things where, just like you look at something with the scope of Endgame or Infinity War and think, there's no way that Bumblebee should fly, it's almost the same thing here. So I'm impressed by what they were able to pull off, from a writing perspective and from a characterization perspective. Again, paying off things that you didn't need, that you didn't know that you needed to pay off. It's like, you know, finding that $10 bill in your jacket that you didn't realize you had left there since last fall. That sort of thing. If that makes any sense whatsoever, it's after midnight. I'm tired. So, I mean, Tom Holland is excellent. Zendaya is excellent. The whole cast does a really great job, and it's amazing, you know, that you're able to do that when you're given good material. No, I will never stop alluding to how much I didn't like that second Spider-Man film. So yeah, I think cup-wise, normally, I would give something like this probably a 3.5. Very entertaining and very epic, but I'm going to give it another half a cup because, again, I feel for the people who were looking over the assignment that they were handed, and you know what it is. It's like the first essay I wrote in college, which was basically the assignment. I'll never forget the assignment. Take C.S. Lewis's theory of social inner rings and apply it to the words. Apply it to the words of C.S. Lewis as interpreted by George Orwell. And you look over that and you go, I understand all of these words, but I don't know that I understand them in this order. I can imagine the people who were handed the assignment of this film feeling that way, and yet they came out the other side much better than what I did for that first essay. I think it was a C+. Anyway, so 4 out of 5 cups is what I'm going for with that. And should you see it? Absolutely. If where you are in the world, it is safe to do so, and you've not already seen it on the big screen, then please do so, because it is worthwhile. When the apocalypse ends, and I know some people laugh at that, when the apocalypse ends and they re-release all of this stuff because people will want to go see it on the big screen, I will definitely go see it on the big screen. Or if you have a drive-in in your area, that'll work too. Yes. So definitely you should see it, especially if you're keeping up with the madness that is the rolling steamroller of the MCU. So yeah, I think that's everything. We can't delve too much without getting into Spoilerville. And like I said, I only knew one definite thing going into this that I shouldn't have known, and I dodged the rest of them. Yes. So there you go. That is another Wayhomer review in the can, finally, after, driving our way through the apocalypse and doing some of these from the couch. I'm still going to be on the couch for most of the time, but there will be certain occasions like this where I'll simply have to drive out to the drive-in and watch something because, people and air and, the plague. So anyway, thanks so much for watching. If you enjoy this sort of thing, please come out to needcoffee.com because we have more of it in store for you. And as always, since I saw some of you doing this over the holidays, and I really appreciate it, if you go to needcoffee.com/Amazon, when you buy stuff from Amazon, then we get kickbacks from Amazon. And in case I need to say that was a paid ad or something, that was a paid ad or something. So until next time, we will see you on the Wayhomer reviews. Maybe on the couch for the Stay Homer reviews. I don't know. Time has broken down. Bye! Some of you might be wondering what that thing was that was spoiled. It was the Nicholas Hammond cameo. Unfortunately, I saw that on blog. But hey, it was still cool.